everybody, today I'm canning up some turkey bone broth or stock. There's a lot of confusion about what's what. So it's a stock is made with the meat and the bones, and apparently bone broth is the same thing but cooked down for more than 24 hours. So really my stocks have always been bone broth. We're going to be pressure canning today. So if you have never pressure canned before, go check out some of my other ones, my other videos, because I explain a lot of the terminology there. And I've already got it going here, but I'll show you from the beginning how we're going to be getting our bone broth canned. It's quite simple to make bone broth. Just cook your bones and meat for more than 24 hours. I like to use a crock pot, and I actually do 3 batches with the same bones. Because I make my bone broth in 3 batches, I need to pour it all back into a pot together so that it can be kind of homogenized. This is the really thick gelatinous stuff, and you'll see in the other jars it's much more liquidy, and they all have varying degrees of fat on the top. This one only filled halfway, so I'll be adding a little bit of water so that I can get an even 7 quarts into my canner. So we'll get all of these jars into this pot, get it stirred up, and put a lid on it. Here's that extra pint of water that I'm mixing things up. I'm going to just shake it in each of the jars so that I get all the goodness into the pot. My canner calls for 3 quarts of water for pressure canning. Your canner may be different, so make sure you check the manual. Then we'll turn up the burner and bring it to the same temperature as the broth next to it. Doesn't have to be down to the degree, as long as it's pretty close. So I reuse my lids, and obviously I reuse jars because that would not make sense to buy new jars each time. But let's say you got a good deal on some vintage jars and you want to make sure that they are in good shape. Let me bring it a little closer so you can see. You just want to make sure that there's no little cracks at the bottom or along the sides, and then most importantly, ironically, right at the top. Run your finger around the top here. Make sure it's nice and smooth, no chips, because if there's chips in there, it's just never going to seal. If it's a fancy old blue one, then keep it for your spices or something, but otherwise just toss it because things with chips are just never going to seal. So here are some lids that I'm going to be reusing. Let me show you what I do to make sure that they are good enough to reuse. First of all, I check to see how many times I've used it. You can see I've used this one at least 2 times. And pardon me, and that's because I use a different color each time if I can find a different color. But then I look on the bottom. Now you can see I used this for some tomato sauce in the past. This is just a stain. The white enamel part here has not been compromised, so that's perfectly fine. What you're going to be looking for is this rubber, and you want to make sure that this rubber is intact and doesn't have any big divots or anything like that, and that the edges are perfectly smooth and not indented so far as to impede the ability to seal. Here are some other insides. This one has a stain from probably grapes or something. I didn't actually write what I had on there. And then this one's been used once, but there you go. These are some that are safe to reuse. If you find one with nicks, throw it away. If you find one with divots, throw it away. If you find one with dents in it, throw it away. Otherwise, you can use it for spice jars, things like that, projects, crafts, but don't use it for canning. Because if it's not going to seal, it's not worth your time. All right, let's get back. And let's have a little musical interlude while I fill up my jars. I'll be filling them to 1 inch head space and then getting my lids and bands on. I'm canning up some stock. Stock.
Stock? Is that made stock?
Yep.
Down?
The stock is the stuff in the pot.
Pot?
Yes. Yes, baby.
Candle?
No, it's not in the canner yet. It's in this pot right here.
What's in the candle?
Just water right now.
Smell it! Smell it!
You want to smell it? There, smell this. Mmm. Okay. Now I'm going to load my canner up with 7 quarts of stock. Remember that the temperature of what's in the jar needs to be pretty close to the temperature of the water in the pot. Both of them are steaming in this situation, and so that's perfect. We won't have any problems with thermal shock. So we'll get our lid situated on just right. And I actually had it kind of backwards on my stove. I wanted to be able to see my gauge as it reaches pressure. So you'll see me turn the pot around, but it doesn't really matter which way you have it, especially if you have a jiggler style canning pot. So sometimes when your canner is venting for 10 minutes, you'll see that this bubbles up with some water, and that's totally fine. If it's doing it too much for you, you can just get a rag and kind of gently at the edge here soak it up. That way it doesn't make a huge mess on your stove. It's not a big deal. You'll find that oftentimes it'll pop up during that 10 minutes of venting, but sometimes it won't. And both are just fine. Okay, my 10-minute timer has gone off. So I'm going to put my weight on. Sometimes, yep, it went right up. But if it doesn't go up right away, you can get a utensil and just kind of gently hold it down for like 1 second, and then sometimes just enough pressure builds up that it will pop up as soon as you take the utensil off. So now we're going to wait for it to get to 11 pounds, which is the weight that I need for my elevation. Make sure you look up what you need for your elevation. Once it gets to 11 pounds, since these are quarts, I'm going to be canning them for 25 minutes. If they were pints, they would be for 20 minutes. Alright, so my 25-minute timer went off, and I'm still above 11 pounds, so I'm good. It doesn't have to say exactly at pounds for your altitude. If it goes up, it's fine. It's if it goes, if it goes down that it's got a problem. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the burner. And if you've got room, you can move it off the burner a bit to help it cool down a little bit, but if you don't have room on your stove, that's fine. You can just leave it on the burner and let it cool down naturally. Don't mess with that, don't mess with that, don't mess with anything, just leave it alone. Now that my indicator has gone down and I've reached 0, I've taken off the weight, and it's still real hot in there. So what you do is you open it to the catch point and just let her steam a little bit. Don't take that lid all the way off, because that can cause siphoning, because the jars in there are so dang hot that they're probably already siphoning a little bit. You can even close this up just a little bit more, kind of play with it, and yeah, just let it keep cooling. Now this stock will be shelf stable for as long as you want to keep it. Officially, Ball says 18 months, but yeah, there's no reason that your sealed, properly canned stuff can't last much longer than that. So that's how you can up any kind of stock, beef stock, chicken stock, whatever you got, venison. And me and little Rosie here are going to go relax now that that's all done. If you have anything you'd like to see me can up and teach you how to do, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, have a good day. God bless y'all. See you next time. Say bye.
Bye.